only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of For the Republic. We are your hosts, Nico and Brittany Fideli, coming at you with another episode right here on the YouTubes. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
That's good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
We had
It's been a while since we've seen each other. We should probably catch up.
Yeah, we can catch up.
What's
talk
new
about
in life?
Yeah. Breaking news. Nobody cares.
Nope.
Yeah, we thought this would be cleverly ironic.
Our cool uniforms.
Yeah, very cool uniforms. Oh boy.
Oh man, did you not put the thing I got back there?
Yeah, it's you're
Where is
covering it.
Oh.
Right.
I got some cool new digs for our podcast background.
A new
Bam.
new mug.
Mario Bros.
Mario Bros.
I lived on that game as a kid.
You can put something in here that you can drink.
I shouldn't say as a kid. Well, yeah, because it's a mug.
Yep.
That would be what mugs are usually used for.
You know what? It's very trippy.
Yeah.
It's like square on the bottom. It's circular on the top. It's pretty cool.
I was thinking that it's not very practical to drink out of, though.
Yeah.
There's only like one spot where like you could actually get liquid out of it.
Yeah, you can't definitely do that.
Yeah. You would have to get right on the right spot, which is why it's perfect for the background of our podcast, but not so perfect for our morning coffee. So it's back there. Everyone know it's there.
Yep.
Enjoy it. We'll have to like move differently sometimes so that we can get angles of some of our cool stuff back there.
Man, well, 2 minutes down the drain already.
Oh,
we got a jam-packed episode today.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So jam-packed, I was freaking out before we started.
Yeah, he was having a little bit of a panic attack. I usually have to talk him off the ledge.
Yeah.
Come back. Don't do it.
Well, make sure you guys spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah. Shout out to our viewers who have been commenting lately, giving us some feedback. We appreciate you. You guys are awesome.
You guys are doing your part.
Yes, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
If the rest of our viewers, mom, dad, yeah,
I'd say my mom, my dad, but they don't watch.
They don't watch. They're not our greatest fans.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Yeah. Well, we had I don't know about you guys out there, but we had a crazy weekend.
Weekend.
Yeah, we had some events. Oh yeah, I guess the biggest event happened on Friday morning, so it wasn't quite the weekend.
Early Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting. We were tucked away, sleeping soundly. I don't sleep sound. That's not true. I don't sleep soundly anymore because I have a baby. So every time she breathes, I wake up. But typically, in order to sleep, I have to have some sort of like white noise in the background. I'm what you call an overthinker, and I'm unable to filter out background sounds and noises. So if I don't have something that drowns everything out, then I hear like every little sound, every creak, every cricket, every stupid bird that my mom feeds in the front yard. So they just come in flocks and they just call to each other all morning long. Yeah, that stuff. I just can't. I literally can't sleep through it because I can't filter it out. So we usually sleep with like either a fan or an air conditioner or white noise in the background. Mm-hmm. So Friday morning at about 2 a.m., our internet, the interwebs decided to cut out. So our YouTube video, our air conditioner YouTube video.
Yeah, shout out to the YouTube video that we watch every night because I'm too lazy to make a video of white noise. So we just go on YouTube and watch 10 hours of white noise.
So shout out to 10 hours of air conditioner sounds on black screen.
Yeah.
We love you. So we had that playing and our internet cut out for a moment and it like disconnected us from the video. Mm-hmm. So I, of course, woke up instantly because immediately all the sounds of the night came into my ears and stirred me. And so I reached over to you and I said, I said, you got to fix it because it's been like, it's been doing that. Are you still watching thing? And
Yeah.
you've had to like click on it, like, yes, we're still watching because we weren't signed into a profile. Because we
Yeah.
can't, the Roku doesn't let you rewind YouTube videos.
Yeah.
What's up with that, Roku?
Come on. Let's start a petition where like we write to Roku and be
Yeah.
like, hey, put a rewind feature
Right.
on YouTube.
That's where I got
Because you can only
say-
go back like 10 seconds
at a time.
at a
Lit-
time.
Yeah,
So,
so I do have to say, like, shout out to Apple and the fact that Apple is like really behind on a lot of stuff, but once they do it right, and you can rewind on a YouTube video on an Apple 4K, but you can't on the stinking Roku. So we haven't been signed into an account because we can't reset the video unless we
Yeah.
play the whole 10 hours. So and sometimes we don't have it going for the whole 10 hours, you know.
Yeah.
So
so the
so
only way
anyways.
we can watch it from the beginning every night is if we're not in a
not
profile.
Yeah, not on a
Yeah.
profile, so that we can just start it over every night.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's been saying like, you know, to start this over. That's which is originally what we thought happened, but it turned out our internet went out.
Yeah.
So you said to me, "Can you sleep?" And I said, "Nope, I'll just be laying here." And you said, "Okay, then keep trying it while you're laying there." And I was like, "Fine." And that's when you knew you had to get up and fix the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Keep trying. I can't believe I said that. Dude,
Yeah, well-
I am such a savage when it like you wake me up and I'm not like it's in the middle of the night.
yeah,
Savage,
you
man.
honestly like almost never
No
remember what
sympathy.
you say, and like you almost
keep trying while you're laying there.
yeah, and you always say like stupid stuff, and I get really mad at you. Or like sometimes you'll be like, "Do you need help with the baby?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, you could help feed her." And then you'll fall back asleep, and I'll be like, "Oh, that guy."
That's a classic.
Yeah. So, anyways, so you came into the office to fix the internet, and what happened?
Oh yeah. So
Well, in here in the studio, because
Yeah,
our
so-
internet is in here.
yeah,
I mean
our internet.
our base.
Yeah, our base, our modem, our modem is in here with our coax line. And I was out here power cycling everything, and then I think you said that it came back right before we had the brownout. no?
No. I thought that what happened was something like as a result
Oh.
of you trying to fix it.
Gotcha. So while I was in the process of fixing it, we had like a brownout. So like our UPS's backups turned on, and we lost lights for a second. And
Yeah, we had like a surge and then
yeah, like a little
and
surge,
then nothing and then back on.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was like a complete blackout or if it was a brownout. I couldn't remember. It was like in the middle.
No,
of the night.
it did. Everything went off. Everything went off for just like 1 second because then
Okay,
it all
so we
came
had
back
a-
on,
we
and
had
it
a
turns
second
on
of
all of
blackout.
our smart devices. So
Yeah.
like all of our lights went on and everything, and
Oh
it was
yeah,
like
so then it was a blackout.
yeah.
So we had like a second of blackout, and then, right before that happened, right before our lights went out, I heard screeching outside, and I was like, "Oh, geez, I think someone just hit a telephone pole."
Yeah. You just
And-
call it a telephone pole.
Yeah, I did. I just made fun of your mom for calling it a telephone pole,
Yeah.
and then I called it a telephone pole.
So shout out to my mom. He called it
yeah.
a telephone pole.
Yeah. So, electrical pole. Someone hit electrical pole, and you said, "Well, you better go out and check."
Yeah, I was like, I said, "Do you know where?" And so we
Yeah.
looked out one side down the road and we didn't see anything. And then we looked out the other side, and through the trees, I could just make out some headlights.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to go check because they
Yeah.
could be injured
Right.
and nobody would know. And it's 2 a.m. So it's going to be a while before
Yeah,
someone
so
drives through.
We have like maybe one other house that would have in the area that would have heard, maybe two, but
I don't think anybody would hear, not this time of
Yeah.
year, because
yeah,
nobody's windows are open.
right, yeah. So like it happened to be that the reason why I heard it is because we have an air conditioner in the window for this room
For our studio
for
equipment.
our studio equipment.
Yeah.
And so like they're like technically the window's open.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I heard it, because it wasn't very loud.
Right.
So
I couldn't hear it. And
Yeah.
I was just in the next room over.
so anyway, your mom and I, we decided to go out and check to see what we could find, and sure enough, we did see somebody that was on the side of the road, and I think it was a Buick sedan was totaled.
Something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I approached the vehicle and I was like, "Hello, is anybody in here?" And like there was nobody in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I was like expecting the worst. I was expecting to see like
Like a body somewhere.
like a body like just laying in the driver's side or something. But,
Yeah.
like nobody was in there. And so then I go back towards my car, and then I hear it's weird because we're on a 55-mile-an-hour road,
Mhm.
and going back towards our house, I hear a lady like walking towards my car, so like coming away from our house,
Mhm.
going back to the scene of the accident, and it's like saying hello, hello, and I was
Mhm.
like, hello, like it's so dark. We don't like our road is not lit at all,
Right,
so
right.
like I could not see her,
Mhm.
and just out of safety and just out of like I had no idea what was going on. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna stay right here, like where it's lit, where my car is, and then
Right.
you come towards me.
Yeah.
And so like she was walking towards me, and I could tell she was out of it. She was not thinking clearly, and
Right. Well, I mean, after who is with it when you've
yeah,
just been in an accident like that?
yeah,
It's scary. It's very
yeah, yeah. So and then so your mom called the police, and
was
we
able to call someone for her
yeah was able to call
because
someone
she
because she the reason why I guess according to her the reason why she was on the road was because she didn't have her phone, like her
yeah.
phone was lost.
Mhm.
So and maybe just lost in the accident or whatever.
Probably, because something similar happened to my brother when he was in an accident, and the impact when like a window of his broke, and it like suctioned a whole bunch of stuff out of the car, so like
Mm.
his phone and some papers and stuff, and so like
Yeah.
he couldn't find his phone either after that. So I'm sure that something similar to happened to her.
Yeah, so I mean, uh, like yeah, this is like a crazy story, or whatever. But like, kind of like the moral of the story, the reason why we wanted to share it with everybody is because like it was like God was definitely working in the background for sure.
Right, right.
It was not a coincidence that our internet went out. It was not a coincidence that I was sitting in this room when it happened.
Right, because this is, in all honesty, this is the only room in the house you would have been able to
Yeah.
hear it because we don't have any other windows open. There's no air conditioners or fans in any other windows,
And
and you couldn't
up
hear.
here, like unless I was in Adelaide's room, up here is the only like room that had a window facing that way.
Right, right,
So, and there would be no reason why I would be in her room.
right.
So, um, so yeah, and then, we were able to call the police, but like it was a good thing that we were there because she was just wandering around on the road, and like I said, I could not even see her.
Right.
There was a chance that she could have either been hit
Hmm.
or she could have gotten lost or whatever.
I would have been really concerned about a vehicle striking her
Yeah.
because especially like sometimes on our road, people get crazy and they like walk their dogs in the dark and stuff. And how many times have we been like driving and just catch someone at the last minute
Yeah.
that's on the side of the road because it's so hard to see anybody walking up the road here. Like it's definitely, if you're gonna walk in the dark, obviously nobody plans to get in an accident, but if you're gonna walk in the dark, you need to have some sort of emergency light or some sort of reflective gear or something with you
Yeah.
because you just can't see people walking up the road here. So I would have definitely been like way concerned about her safety from another vehicle coming that like
Mhm.
might not have seen her. I mean, you guys didn't even see her and you would have had to pass her getting to the accident. So that's how
Yeah, that was
that's
the
how
other thing I was
crazy
thinking
it
about. I
is.
was like, how did this chick how did we miss her
Right.
coming down here? Because we were looking on the side of the road for
Yeah.
a vehicle, and we drove right past her.
Right. So like we just thought it was definitely very interesting and it's definitely a God thing. Like God definitely puts you in situations to be there for other people and it's things that like you wouldn't necessarily be ready for or be prepared for or expect to happen. And this is the way that that everything played out, the way that the scenario happened is the only way we would have known that she was there and you would have been able to go down and help her out because if we had been 5 minutes later you would have never heard anything.
Yeah.
If it had been 10 minutes earlier, you would have already had the internet fixed.
Yeah.
We would have just thought that when she hit the pole and it caused a blackout for a moment, we would have just thought that it was something that just happened because occasionally
Yeah.
that does happen. We'll just
I
get
mean,
random blackouts
We're
here.
on the boondocks, so like
Yeah.
we get brownouts, blackouts all the
Right,
time. So that's
right.
why we have UPSs on all our equipment and stuff.
Right.
So.
It happens literally all the time. So we would have everything would have come on and we would have waited for the internet to pop back on and replayed our video and went back to sleep. I mean, like
Yeah.
there would have been nothing to indicate to us that anything was wrong, that anything happened. This is the only scenario that all of these events happening the way that they did would have led to you hearing her hit that
Yeah.
pole and you guys being able to go down and help her out. And so it's just really interesting. Like it's really cool as like a Christian to be able to say like, God put people in a situation to make a difference, and like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So definitely like, exciting, like kind of cool, like
Yeah.
not cool for her because obviously she
Right.
stole her car, but like cool that God was able to place us in the right places at the right moment.
Yeah, and you hear stories all the time, like on the news and stuff like that, where people being in the right place at the right time. But it's just like it's so encouraging and reassuring that us as Christians we're sensitive to what like the tugging of the Holy Spirit is telling us. So like that puts you in an even better spot where like situations that you don't have to necessarily like always be thinking about possible situations because like when stuff goes down you can rely on God and the Holy
Right.
Spirit to prompt you and to be like, okay, like you feel that you need to do this, and then you kind of like lean into that, and then it's God like leading you and protecting you.
Right.
So yeah, like be encouraged with that. And if you're watching this and you're not a Christian and you don't believe in God, I encourage you to do some research, because
Yeah,
there's a lot
definitely.
of powerful stories out there about people who even didn't know God, but they felt a prompting, and they felt I really got to do this, or like I really got to take action here, and they knew that it was like a higher power, and they knew it was something above themselves. It happens you hear about that story all the time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't get very much sleep from that point on, or
Yeah.
at least I didn't. I was pretty wide awake,
We-
and I was just like rambling
the
on and
adrenaline
talking.
was pumping, and we were like I was starting to wind down, and Brittany's just like talking, and I was like,
Yeah, that's what you kept doing, and I was like, and then like finally I was like, why don't you stop talking and get some sleep? And you were like, okay. And then I just kind of laid there for a while longer too, because like I was already just already awake, and I don't really fall asleep very easily, so
yeah,
it was something else. But yeah, quite an interesting morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So what interesting things have happened in the news this week? Now that we've shared our life
Sharing our
story.
life story. Well, I kind of wanted to circle back because we mentioned a little bit about Disney and how they're going to get their rights stripped away of
Their butts kicked.
their butts kicked. Of Randy Creek Improvement District is going to be disintegrated. It's going to be no longer
Exit.
by June 2023. So we talked a little bit about this, and real quick, I wanted to circle back because we were talking about, and this is an article from the Miami Herald. It says rating agency warns Disney debt conflict could weaken other Florida government bonds. So basically, because Florida had was privy to having governmental things and being able to do things that normally you wouldn't be able to do if you weren't zoned as your own government kind of thing.
Yep.
So they were able to give out bonds, so governmental bonds, and so that has racked up nearly
significant debt.
pretty significant debt, nearly $1 billion in bond debt. So now that the Randy Creek Improvement District is going to be no longer, it's going to all be Florida. That $1 billion is now probably going to end up being absorbed into Florida. So, so this was like one of my main concerns. Like I praised DeSantis for going after Disney, and Disney specifically said not only did they disagree with the legislation about the teachers not talking about sexuality and
not educating your children.
Not only
Sexuality.
did they come out against it, but they said that they would do everything in their power to repeal it. Those were their words, was repeal, and that was the red flag for DeSantis.
Not only repeal it, but they had every intention of doing things to go against the law, so to disobey the law.
Yeah,
they had no intention of following it, and they planned on putting money in places that would essentially break
that was
the
one
law.
of the things I wanted to circle back and clarify, is that like I've seen a lot of people on social media saying that like, oh, conservatives were against cancel culture until or until ... And like this is one of those examples. This isn't DeSantis or Florida canceling Disney.
No.
Like if Disney came out and said they disagreed with the bill, that's one thing. but because Disney had special powers and
Mhm.
because they had their own government in this district, and they said that they would threaten to use that power.
Right.
That is what DeSantis is trying to.
Because they were trying to usurp government
Yeah.
law.
And so, like, the canceling Disney would be like something that is almost impossible.
I think you
but,
could cancel your Disney Plus.
Yeah, but I imagine canceling Disney would be like trying to put like sanctions on Disney or something like that, or like trying to dismantle Disney. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not cancel culture.
Yeah. Tear down the establishment or something.
Yeah. And a statement from DeSantis kind of that, I don't put a lot of trust in politicians, but
I would follow that man into the fire.
But DeSantis is somebody that, that you can for right now at least, until like I'm the kind of person that is going to take, even though the politicians have a bad reputation and, saying that there's no good politicians, I agree with the same, like I agree with that statement just as much as the next person does. But I'm the kind of person that I will trust somebody at their word until they do otherwise.
Until they give you a reason not
until
to.
you give you a reason not to. Exactly.
Right.
And DeSantis is everything that he said he's always followed through. So DeSantis put out a statement, says
He's been
that
very wise.
Yeah, he says that we're going to take care of all of that. Don't worry, we have everything thought out. Don't let anyone tell you somehow Disney is going to get a tax cut out of this. They're going to pay more taxes as a result of that. So before, this isn't like a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
This legislation that they passed, this was something that they thought out. They said, oh, Disney has over nearly $1 billion in bond debt. Like, is this something that we can do and take care of? And so, like, they've obviously thought out a plan. So.
Right, which is actually what I said to you, because when you mentioned your concern about it, that's what I said. I said, I'm sure that Ron DeSantis, as intelligent as he has been in running Florida, especially through the craziness that's happened over the last couple of years with the coronavirus and like all of the government craziness and the threats of sending illegal aliens into can you say aliens anymore? Illegal residents into Florida,
illegal
like all of,
citizens.
Yeah, all of illegal non-citizens. All of that stuff that's been happening, and he's just like one right after another, just boom, 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 taking care of it. And I said to you that I'm sure that I have no question like that he's probably already thought this through, and they've already have a plan to settle that situation. And now we know that that's in fact what they did.
Yeah. So.
I was right. You were right.
It's not that I was wrong.
Not wrong, yeah.
But I was just like
questioning.
I was just a little.
You were a doubter.
Yeah, it's a lot of, so for me,
Doubting Nico.
it's a lot of government intervention. You know what I mean? Like I am very much as conservative as the next person, but I can push more towards the libertarian side sometimes.
Yeah, we definitely tend to be on the opinion that government involvement should be as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Which is why we think you should cancel the IRS.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I feel like at this point in the political climate that we have, I feel like this was probably necessary in any time. And if we could, because our social fabric is like weakened so much at this point, if we had a strong social fabric, I would almost say that this could have been hell. Like,
Disney
this
would
could
have
been
canceled itself.
Yeah, we could have handled this
Right.
as the people of the United States. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this is something that could have been handled without government intervention, but because the social fabric is so much divided and so fragile, this is kind of like what Michael Knowles has been kind of changing my mind about a little bit. Like he always like would say stuff like, like us as conservative, like conservative politicians should not just, be conservative, but they have to, stand ground with their morality and stuff like that. And we have to like push the envelope when it comes to what we believe in and, push that towards policy. And like, I'm the kind of person that's like, yes, that sounds so great, but like that requires so much government intervention, and that's what the left does.
Right.
But like we're at this point now where it's almost like this is the only way we can save our society, like save the United States, is if we start pushing back legislatively on the conservative side, because eventually we're just going to let society crumble.
Right. I agree with that. I have always been kind of like in the viewpoint that like I think that legislation should stay out of as many places as possible. Like I can't stand government involvement in pretty much anything. I think that that's not why the government was established. It's not what they're supposed to do. It's not their job. It's not why we pay them. A lot of their intervention is power grabbing and a matter of controlling the people of the United States. I definitely think though that if the Republicans, if the right does not start pushing back, we will end up with a society that has no moral fabric anymore. Because if you go back 20 years ago, I mean, like even if you go like let's say like we go back to Clinton's presidency, for instance, if Disney had done something like this in that time and era, people would have stopped going to Disney World. They would have stopped going to Disneyland. They would have stopped buying Disney movies. They would cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions.
And you're still seeing
all
some of
those
that now.
Right. You're definitely seeing that happen. But you would have seen it on like a mass scale.
Yeah.
It would have been like it would have been
a united front.
Right. You would have seen this big united front. People would have just been like, we're no longer going to support Disney if this is the crap they're going to do. But now we're in a society where the moral fabric is very much stretched, and it's been pushed so far that it almost doesn't exist anymore. So if the right does not get in there and reestablish a moral fabric in our government and in our legislation, then we're going to push even farther to a place where there is no moral ground in the U.S. anymore, and that will destroy the country 100%. Without, I have no doubt that the more the moral envelope is pushed, the more the country goes downhill, and I have no doubt that it would destroy it completely.
Yep, exactly.
There would be no republic.
Yep, and this is
we'd have to change our podcast name.
The whole point of the show, For the Republic. We're trying to help do our due diligence. Small part.
Due diligence.
Yeah.
Like, we would have to change ourselves to former republic.
Former republic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we would be the rebellion for the rebellion.
Oh yeah, and then still, when people looked up our podcast, all they would find is Star Wars references.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We would stick with that. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So moving on, and I stumbled upon an article about, I can't remember why I came to this topic here, but I stumbled upon a couple of articles talking about China's GDP, and I actually did research and found this article from the IHS Market, and this was written by a guy who I don't know, how would you pronounce this name?
Where?
Here.
Nariman
Baharavish.
Baravish.
Yeah. Anyways,
It's called NB for short.
I'll post the link down in the description. You can look up this guy, but this guy, in my opinion, is like pretty renowned, like pretty robust. Like he's been on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times. Like he's done economic things like for everybody.
And you still don't know how to pronounce his name?
Yeah, still don't know how to pronounce his name. But
it's like Habakkuk.
It's like a pretty. He's not like some guy off the street. So like he's
Habakkuk. What did my dad call him?
Habakkuk.
No, that's what I was saying. Habakkuk, and it's like Habakkuk.
Habakkuk.
But my dad was saying like
Habakkuk.
something weird.
Habakkuk.
Habakkuk, yeah, that was it. Habakkuk.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Anyways,
so he was a prophet. It's a book in the Bible.
Minor prophet.
Minor prophet. Look it up.
How would you feel if you were, so influential like that, and then
you were a minor
you
prophet?
were called a minor prophet?
I don't know. He probably doesn't care.
Yeah, he probably doesn't care.
He was probably like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I minored in profiteering. What?
Minored in prophecy?
Right. Prophet. Yeah, that's it. That's the
Profiteering.
I was like, that's not the right word.
Oh, man. Here we go. Anyway, so I stumbled upon a couple of articles about China's GDP, and it was written by this guy that I'm not going to try to pronounce anymore, but I'll put the link in the description. You can do research on him if you want. But he predicted in 2019, and there was a ton of economists, here we go, who also predicted the same thing, that the U.S. economy was going to expand in 2020 by 2.1%. Mm-hmm. And it was based on sustainable growth in the labor force and productivity. We were going to see some trends upward. Mm-hmm. And China's growth rate would fall below 6% for the first time since 1990. While it is tempting to blame much of the recent slowdown on the U.S.-China trade war, the decade-long declaration is the result of both structural and cynical factors. So, cynical. Also cynical.
Cyclical. Silical?
Silical. Yes.
Yeah,
Silical.
something. It's
So,
a word.
so basically, I thought this was very interesting because China knew that they were going downhill.
Mhm.
Like they purposely deflated their money,
Mhm.
purposely did things that slowed down growth, and it was supposed to like make their economy like worth more by deflating their currency.
Mhm.
And so like they were predicted to fall below 6% for the first time in 1990, so a long time. And the actual fall in their GDP, according to Statista, they went down like 2.24%, and then in 2021 jumped up a plus 8%.
No.
Yeah.
China?
So
China.
So why I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, and what am I talking about here? I think that this is more evidence that China
Dun dun dun.
was trying to do something that would impact the global market.
You mean like accidentally release a deadly virus?
Yeah, so
that would cripple the economies of every world power.
I think I'm not gonna go all Alex Jones and say that they purposely invented the coronavirus to do exactly what it did, but I feel like that could be a potential repercussion of what they were experimenting with. I think that they were trying to do something that would stir up the global economy.
All I can think of is this Kramer quote about like, am I crazy or am I just so right that I'm blowing your mind or whatever he says? Like I saw it on like a picture and like that's all I can think of right now. I was like, am I crazy or am I just so right that I'm blowing your mind?
Nice. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, this is just another piece of the puzzle that, points to China actually growing this thing in a lab to purposely release it. Maybe not. I don't know. Like I'm not that cynical where I think like they were trying to kill like all these people. But
oh, come on, that's exactly what they were trying to do.
All right. Well. So I just find it ironic that, everybody fell in 2020, but China seemed to be the one to bounce back in 2021.
They skyrocketed. Right. Yeah. And it's interesting that China is also the one that is withholding a lot of goods from us, like say the chips for the cars that we need to drive. And so now there's a car shortage and things like that. Interestingly enough, if you do research on this and you're usually the one that's the down to earth guy and I'm the conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
So I've had lots of ideas about and I still maintain them pretty well. But did you know that since the coronavirus has been released, that Bill Gates has been buying up farmland?
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah. And
right?
also China has been buying up
has been buying up lots of land.
And also like dealerships.
Yep. So interestingly enough, Bill Gates, who is very famous for believing that we should have some sort of like cutback of population because he believes that the world cannot sustain the population that we have currently. He's not like Elon Musk, who recognizes that we're not growing fast enough. Yeah, Elon Musk, who shuts it down very fast by pointing out the fact that we're actually not growing fast enough, and soon there's going to be a shortage of workers, and we're going to have just like a massive, like crazy, what do they call that when things crash? Like a recession, like a recession, right? Because there won't be enough people in the workforce to like your older generation's going to retire out. There's not going to be enough of the younger generation to take those places. So Elon Musk recognizes that, but Bill Gates does not. He believes that we have too many people on the earth and that the earth cannot sustain the amount of people we have, and we have to cut back the number of people on the earth. So interestingly enough, the people who have benefited the most from this fallout of coronavirus are the people who were invested in it. So I'm not trying to say.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm not trying to say anything here, guys. You can come to your own conclusions. You can look it up. You can see Bill Gates. You can see his patent on the coronavirus vaccine from 10 years ago. You can look all those things up yourself and come to your own conclusions. I'm just saying, interestingly enough, Bill Gates is buying up all of our farmland.
Yeah.
Our farmland is what provides our food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a fun thing too. Well, not fun if it's true, but it's fun to indulge on and to pique your interest and to do research on.
I do cut the line at the nanobots in the vaccine though.
Yeah, no. Oh, the nanobots.
Yeah, the nanobots.
It's gonna be like an iRobot situation.
Yeah.
Where it's like just the flip of a switch. And
dude,
then,
can you imagine though what it's gonna be like to be an unvaccinated person when they flip the switch with the nanobots?
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be Will Smith.
I'm just kidding because I don't really believe that.
You can be Shia LaBeouf. I'll be Will Smith.
Dude, I love Shia LaBeouf. He's a little crazy now, but I used to love him on Even Stevens. He said one of my most favorite quotes, which is, "Haven't you ever pulled down your pants and slid on the ice?" And it's one of my favorite quotes of all times. All times.
All right, moving on. We got some stories to cover, and we're already past.
We got more stories to cover.
Yeah.
How do we have more? Holy cow!
Yeah.
What's been going on?
So we got a reaction vid.
I did not do my homework and get a reaction video.
Yeah.
In my defense, though, I do not have TikTok. So it's very hard to find a TikTok when you don't have TikTok.
Well, I hate to embarrass you on national television, but I got my reaction video from Twitter, so I didn't even get it from TikTok. It was
I also don't have Twitter.
Oh, well.
Or Insta.
The gram.
The gram, yeah.
The gram.
Insta.
All right, so I did your homework for you. I found another video that you can react to.
Yeah, you're good at this.
This video is I think like there's Trump 2020 stuff in the background, so it's kind of old. I thought I think it was like right after the election. It was in 2021, early 2021. But people who are actively on Facebook and social media, sometimes you'll see like videos and stuff like that and stories. Like when they first happen, they'll trend, and then they won't be trending for a while, and then they'll like resurface. This has been one of those videos that have resurfaced in the last couple of weeks. And it's the co-host on Young Turks, and I'll let you react to it. And it's a little concerning. It's a little. Are you
just gonna let me watch it or what? I've been waiting.
Yeah.
So these comments might be strong, but it's how I genuinely feel. I don't care that you're a Christian. I don't care what the Bible says. Like, I feel like it's a clown show, like sitting here trying to decipher what your little mythical book has to say about these very real political issues, right? I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
I don't care. I don't care.
Oh boy. So interestingly enough, her voice was very ear piercing. I was a little uncomfortable
dude,
for a while.
She's such a whiny.
It wouldn't have been so bad if she didn't like yell the whole time, but she was like yelling. I was like, whoa, man, she's fired up about something. So interestingly, I would say not everything that she said do I disagree with. because I do think that she has the right not to believe what we believe, and I do think that she has the right to live her life the way she wants to live her life for the most part. I do think that she has the right not to have to worry about what the Bible says if she doesn't want to. That's I 100% believe that. I don't push my religion on anybody, because I quite honestly think that if anybody was interested enough to care what my God has to say and what the Bible has to say, then they wouldn't be atheists. They wouldn't not believe. They would read the word, and they would realize the truth, and they would have divine revelation from the Holy Spirit. I believe that if they did their research and they actually cared to know what my God says, then they wouldn't have that opinion, because they would be Christian.
Yeah.
So she has every right to live her life and not to care what the Bible says if she wants to. Where I draw the line is at abortion, because that's not your body. You're not harming you. I mean, you are harming your body, but that's not what it's about. The crazy part about abortion is that for a lot of people, they believe that it is okay because this child will cause them some sort of inconvenience. They aren't prepared. They're not ready. They can't mentally handle it. They can't financially handle it, whatever it happens to be. For the most part, it has nothing to do with rape or incest. So please don't come at me with that, because statistically, if you look it up, rape and incest accounts for less than 1% of the abortions in America. So you can't even come at someone with that argument anymore. The health of the mother, there's almost no case ever where an abortion is going to
the highest statistic that I've ever seen is 1.9% with rape and incest in health of the mother.
The health of the mother. So all of those combined.
I mean,
so,
I'll even give you 2%. I'll give you 5%.
Right. But even at that, I mean, there are literally hundreds of thousands of abortions performed regularly. In fact, so many abortions are performed that I believe that's every 90 seconds an abortion is performed. So not necessarily every 90 seconds, but there's so many abortions performed that it would equate to one every 90 seconds in the United States. So here's my problem with that is you're not just taking care of your own body. You are not just harming your own body. You are not just affecting your own body. You are affecting the body of a child. And you can say to me all you want to all day long, it's a clump of cells, but let me tell you what, that clump of cells is where life begins. Life begins, and you can say, well, they don't have a spirit yet, they don't have a soul yet. I don't care. Life begins at conception. When that sperm hits that egg, that is the beginning of life. I actually watched a cool video. I should have thought of this. Obviously I didn't know we were going to do this video. So, but I watched a video this week, and it talks about the chemical reaction that happens when the sperm hits the egg. It actually literally lights up. And so it's the beginning of life. And so and you can say all day long, it's a clump of cells. That clump of cells is what starts life. That clump of cells is where life begins. And it is the beginning of each and every one of us, all of us that are alive. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're not listening to this podcast, if you are a Christian or not Christian, whatever you believe, your life began at that conception. Your life began at that moment when that sperm hit that egg, and that is the beginning of life. And to me, life is sacred, and I don't care if it's inconvenient, and I don't care if you don't like the foster care system, and I don't care if you don't like adoption, and I don't care if you don't like taking care of your children. Life is sacred, and it is not our place to take that life away from someone and not allow them to live it. And those babies, they didn't choose to be born.
Right.
They didn't choose to be conceived. They didn't choose to exist. They didn't choose any of that by any means, but it's not your right to take it away.
Right.
Just because it's in your body, it's not your right to take it away. And I, for the life of me, cannot understand why anybody who has ever held a baby in their bellies could ever say that it would be okay to kill that. Because if anybody ever suggested to me that it would have been okay to kill my baby at any point in time during my pregnancy, right up to birth, I would have lost it.
You know how ridiculous
that life is precious.
The abortion argument, because I got into a little bit with this specific video. Actually, I got into a little bit of a tiff with somebody who shared it on Facebook, and I was talking about how science is going to disprove abortion eventually to the point where it's no matter what you believe, it's going to be barbaric, inhumane to abort a baby.
Right.
And and the arguments of abortion are starting. You can they're starting to get so weak that they have
Right.
no weight. Like, for example, like she is attacking biblical views. And one of the things that I really like about Ben Shapiro, who's very religious, and you know,
He's Jewish.
he based his morality on the Bible like we do. Some of it he doesn't believe, which is fine. But the basic principle Judeo-Christian values, it shapes his politics, shapes his
Right.
morality. But he never debates, he never combats, he never brings his viewpoint across using the Bible, because he knows that's not authoritative for everybody.
Right.
Unless he's debating somebody else who's also religious, who also uses the Bible as a
Right.
tool for morality. He doesn't even usually mention the Bible. And that's why this argument is so weak for her, is because you can disprove abortion, you can combat abortion, you can show how disgusting it is, you can show how inhumane it is without even touching the Bible,
Right.
without even bringing in the biblical aspect to it. And to me, like, I have just as much respect for somebody who is atheist, agnostic, Christian. You know, I don't pick and choose who I like better or whatever. I'll be friends with them all. But
The mall.
the mall. Let's go to the mall. With them all. But where I kind of draw the line is where you, to the point where you are so adamant about being against biblical values that you would go to this, like, she was so angry, you know what I mean? And I understand that there are people out there that push religious views, and they're like, you know, like that Baptist church that was like anti-homosexual or whatever, like,
Oh yeah, with the
like,
picket signs
like
and stuff.
God hates f***s and stuff like that, whatever.
I don't know if you can say that on YouTube.
Well, I'll bleep it out or something.
Canceled.
I get that, you know, that there are those people that are out there, but that's a very, very much a minority. And
It
so
is very much a
very
minority.
much a minority.
But it's come to my I've come to the conclusion that it's usually the minority that screams the loudest, and that's why they're the people who are noticed the most.
Right.
So, anyways,
So
continue.
yeah. So basically, and so this co-host on Young Turks is to the point where she is so against the Bible, because I don't know if it was a personal experience or if she's just using that as a weapon to push her political agenda, which
Right.
I tend to believe that it's the latter. But people that are like this, I tend to lose respect for, because doesn't matter if you believe in them. Those Judeo-Christian values have given you the platform, have given you the freedom, have given you this life of prosperity.
Right.
Because there are other nations in this world that do not have Judeo-Christian values, and there are women that are being oppressed. There are slavery. There's children that are being killed after they're born.
Genocide.
And you don't have the freedom of speech. You don't have all the freedoms that you have in America. So I just ask you, atheists, people who are against religion, people who are, you could be dead set against the Bible, whatever. You have the freedom to believe that. But just do your own research and reserve the respect that, hey, America would not be what it is if there wasn't these Judeo-Christian values,
Absolutely.
if there wasn't these biblical values, because it dates back before any society. You can say, well, the New Testament wasn't written until I'm not talking about the New Testament. I'm not talking about the Old Covenant. I'm talking about even older than that.
Has somebody tried to debate you like that?
Not even well, they sound like that. I'm talking about the very foundation when it comes to the very first law. You know what I mean? Was biblical values. And so just take it for what it is. Take it for a grain of salt. Just have just a tiny. I'm like, maybe like a
tiny bit of respect
tiny.
for the way that you have gotten to where you've gotten.
Yeah,
and it was not without It was not without the word, and it was not without Christian values. Right? Absolutely. I agree with you, and I think to like kind of circle back to your point that the abortion argument has gotten extremely weak. I would totally agree with you. The strongest abortion argument that I've had recently, and by recently I mean like probably within the last like couple of years, was the foster care system is so broken, and kids who are born have to go into the foster care system, and then they have to live these like really terrible lives and suffer so much pain. And so to that, first off, I want to address the fact that the type of families who have children in foster care are not the type of families that abort their babies.
Right.
So please don't use that argument with me. The type of families who have kids in foster
There's
care,
literally no correlation.
they think that they're good parents.
Yeah.
They think that their kids have been taken away from them wrongfully. They think that the law doesn't have the right to do what they're doing. They think that that they should have their children back.
Partially why the foster care system is the way that it is, because there's so much back and forth. There's so much court battles because the parents who are not capable of having the kids want to have the kids.
Right. They refuse to sign away rights, even though kids are in potentially adoptable homes. I know of families who have spent 7 or 8 years trying to adopt their kids because their parents refuse to sign away rights, and it takes so long to terminate parental rights, even with parents who will never ever get their kids back. They are kids who, if their rights aren't terminated, those children will still spend the rest of their lives in the foster care system. Their parents not terminating their rights, that's not going to change whether they have their kids back or not. That's how bad they are as parents, but it's so hard to terminate their rights through the system that a lot of times they have to sign them over themselves. They have to sign away their own rights, and many of them will not do that. Those are not the type of people who abort their babies. So please don't use that argument. It's absolutely asinine to say that the foster care system is an example of why there should be abortion, because those are not the people who abort their babies. They're just not. They're not the type of families that abort their babies. And that's upsetting to me. The type of people that you see arguing for abortion are often college students, single women who want to live freely and don't want the responsibility of a child. They have
will affect my career.
Right. They've been irresponsible with their birth control. They've been irresponsible with their behavior. And this is why biblical values are so very important. Because if you follow biblical values of not having sex with somebody who isn't your spouse, you're not going to end up in a situation where you're single and alone and had a one-night stand or fooled around with your boyfriend in college or whatever it happened to be, and you're in a situation where you can't take care of a child. You're never going to be in that situation if you wait and have sex with only your husband. So that is why these Judeo-Christian values are so important, because if you followed them from the beginning, you wouldn't be in a situation. There's the 1.9%. We'll give you the 2% that may be faced with the situation outside of literally that scenario of being in a protected relationship where you are in a place where you can have children. And so that eliminates like just a massive amount of the abortion right there if you follow that biblical principle. And then once you're in an established family, I just don't understand why anybody can argue for abortion when we have the ability to adopt. I just don't. If there's the ability ever for anybody else to be able to raise that baby and have a family, and there's so many people out there who can't have their own babies. They just can't for whatever reason, medical reasons or whatever it happens to be. They cannot have their own babies, and they will adopt those babies in a heartbeat. And you're sitting there saying, well, this is an inconvenience to me. I can't financially handle it. I can't mentally handle it. This is not something I'm ready for. You're never going to be ready. You're literally never going to be. Even us, we were family planning for 3 years, and I was sitting there a week before we gave birth going, I don't think I can do this. I don't know if I can be a parent. I don't think I can have a baby. I was freaking out. You're literally never going to be ready. But that does not change the validity of that child's life, and it does not change the sanctity of it. And so you cannot come and say, because it is inconvenient or because I'm not ready, I should have the right to kill this baby, because you should not have the right to end anybody out of inconvenience. And you should not have the right to end anybody because they're in your belly. They are not a parasite. They are a person. And you do not have the right to end that person just because you can't handle it, or because you got in a situation you don't like, or because you don't think that you're ready or whatever. There are options out there.
Someone's driving fast.
Wowza.
I think someone's trying to tell you you're talking too
I
much.
think it was like a motorcycle race out
Yeah.
there. But regardless, the point is you can't kill someone because you're not ready or because
Yeah.
it's inconvenient or whatever.
And
adopt those babies
I
out
know that there are people
or
that
raise them.
that there's tons of people, men in particular, who are on the fence about this, that know that there are some moral implications with abortion, but they don't feel comfortable telling a woman what they
To
should
do with her body.
Yeah, and and like one of the things that that you could even advocate for without even putting pressure on anybody is say, like, okay, we threw out that statistic 1.9%. You could if you're talking to somebody who is pro-abortion, who is pro-choice, and you say to them, okay, there 1.9% of abortions are rape, incest, and health of the mother. Would you agree that the other 98% of abortions are morally unjustified? And that's how you start breaking down the barriers, because
most of the time they'll disagree with you.
Right.
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, and they'll hide behind this to paint a pretty picture where, like, there's tons of situations where, the woman, she could lose her life. She did not want to have this child because she was raped, and like there's family situations, and then you say, okay, the statistics show that it's 2%. So would you agree that all the 98% of other abortions are bad? And then the argument, so you start building your case, and
Right.
You have ground, you have moral ground, you have a leg to stand on, even as a man in society, against abortion, because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the woman.
Right.
And
I can't
if you
stand that. What is that? It's the argument.
Yeah.
No uterus, no opinion. Like,
Yeah.
are you able to conceive that child without the man? Because
Right.
last time I checked, you have to have a sperm. Like,
Yeah.
and last time I checked, you don't make that on your own. So
Yeah.
you're not one of those like weird one of those weird flatworms that is able to change into the female or the male depending on what you need.
Yeah.
They penis fence, and then whichever one loses becomes the female. Like, that's not how it works when you are a human being.
And
when you're a human being, you don't make your own sperm. If you're a woman,
Yeah.
you actually need a man for that. So you can't take out a whole gender of some of a group, a whole gender group, out of the argument of abortion because they don't have a uterus. Well, like,
Yeah.
you didn't conceive that child without him, so shut up.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you're on the other side, like if you're a woman who is pro-choice, I just think that there's some sort of internal reflection that really needs to happen, and I think that most of the time, I would say majority, if not all, women who are pro-choice believe that there is nothing in life that's above themselves. Because I feel like that's the only way you can justify it. Right? Is that the only thing that's important is you and your priorities. Because that
your future, your finances, your mental health.
Right. And like you cannot come to this conclusion that you're going to kill another person inside of you because you are worried. Like, again, it's another false argument that you're hiding behind with this whole foster care thing.
Right.
If that's really what you justify abortion with,
Right.
I like that. To me, is a self-defeating argument, and it's conflicting with each other. I don't see how you can come up with that.
Right.
If you care about other people and you care about other things in this world besides, like, if you prioritize something above yourself, I don't think you can ever make that decision without repercussions. Like,
Right.
maybe you could be pressured into it, and you hear stories about that all the time. So, like, I don't want to say if you got an abortion, you're watching this, that you're one of those people, because I feel like there are tons of young women who are pressured into, this is the best choice for
Right.
you.
Right.
You have to do
And
this.
so many people deceived on
Yeah.
on abortion, and that like kind of brings up, because I did find this article, which is interesting that you brought that video. I did find this article this week, and it's an article about basically the true face of abortion, or like the true picture of abortion. And so this person was upset about what they call propaganda, and so they decided that they were going to show what abortion really is, the real process of abortion here. And I think what kind of probably triggered this to come out when it did was just recently that abortion clinic in DC was caught with fully grown fetuses that had been aborted. And
there's pictures going around.
Yes, there's pictures going around. If you are pro-abortion, 100%, I encourage you to go look those up. Look those pictures up. You go look at those babies, and you tell me that that's justified. You go look at those fully grown, fully developed dead babies, and you tell me that abortion is justified. But if you are pro-life, I would encourage you not to look them up because they're pretty grotesque. And you already know morally, you already know morally where you stand. And if you believe what you believe, then stand on that. I would say save your mental health. But this article, I think, was stemmed from that, really. She said that a lot of abortion pictures are propaganda pictures. So she goes through and she takes these pictures of, like, in Alabama where these clinics, they have to guard people as they're taking them in to Planned Parenthoods, and people who have to travel for hours in order to get to the closest Planned Parenthood, people who stand outside of the abortion clinics and pray for the people who go in, and yada, yada, yada. The most compelling picture I found was, I think it's like maybe a couple pictures down,
This
was
one
this
here?
picture here. And the caption beneath says, an embryo at 6 to 8 weeks, as seen at a clinic in Montgomery, Alabama. Anti-abortion activists say this is a human, while doctors and scientists show that it's cells before they have grown. And it ticks me off because this right here is a baby. I don't care if it's a clump of cells right now. I don't care if you think that this is too early to consider it human. It is human. It is a baby. It is the beginning of life, and it is sacred. And you cannot come at me and say that that doesn't matter when you take that out. It does not matter when you kill that. It doesn't matter when you sacrifice that. Don't stand
We
on
all
your...
start there.
Right.
Like, what are these people, like,
Right.
all of a sudden, like, just babies? Like, instantly? Like,
Right.
no, we all started as,
And-
like, a clump of cells.
And they say, well, this clump of cells can't survive outside your body. Well, guess what? A newborn baby can't survive outside my body without my help.
Yeah.
A newborn baby isn't gonna. If you have that baby and it's now sustainable. It's got its own heartbeat, its own lungs. It's breathing on its own. If you don't take care of that baby, it's not going to survive. So you can't use that argument that zygote can't survive outside of your. Well, neither can a
Right.
fully grown baby survive without your help.
And this is what we were talking about earlier in the episode when we were talking about science, because eventually there's going to become a point where I don't think that God would allow us to ever conceive outside of normal conception, but I think that science can progress so much that once conception happens, I believe that human can grow. We'll come up with some technology where that human could probably grow.
Well, I mean, you see that with you've seen that with they like fertilize eggs in petri dishes and stuff, and then when they start to see, they'll implant the embryo into the so yeah. I mean, science is already showing you that life is sacred, and science is already showing you. Science is already anti-abortion, and you can use science as an argument for abortion. It's already anti-abortion. It already shows you that that's life, and this is not. Let me be this disclaimer and say, if you've had an abortion, this is not a judgment at you. This is not in any way judging you or saying like, oh, you're a bad person or anything like that. What we're saying is now look at the sanctity of life. Now change your opinion, because life is important and life does matter. And there's forgiveness when things happen. This is not to say like, oh, if you've had an abortion, this is an end all.
This is it
You
for
know,
you.
this is it. You're going down. That's not it at all. There's forgiveness. There's recovery. There's a way to move on past that. But we're saying to you, if you believe that this is okay, please do your research. Please look this up. Look up those babies from DC, that DC abortion clinic. Look up the process of going in and scrambling the brains of an unborn baby and then pulling them out piece by piece. Go and look that up. Go watch those videos. Go do the research, because that life is important. And standing on the platform of female empowerment or women's rights so that you can sit there and argue for the ending of life is so out of line. It's so wrong, and there's no justification
No
for it.
justification. Yep.
And I get very passionate about this, especially
rant.
since I've had a baby. Especially like
you're just
feeling
ready.
life inside of me, and just like seeing people who don't value
Right.
that. It drives me crazy. Because
Yeah.
when I hold my baby in my arms, that's where she started that clump of cells. She started in the egg with the sperm that fertilized it, and at 8 weeks she was that
Yeah.
clump of cells. And she is just as much a human, and she is just as much important as any other baby.
Right.
And life
Yeah.
is important.
You know, like thinking of, and like I know we're going a little long, so we gotta wrap it up here. But
Wrap it up.
I just
No uterus, no opinion, man.
no, yeah.
just kidding.
But just like watching you deliver our baby, like I cannot imagine. Like I can't even. If I wanted to go to the darkest of darkest places, I could not come to a place where like I could see somebody taking that baby and ending that life there.
Right.
Like that happens in a
Yes.
couple of states, like especially New York, where you can up to term you can abort.
There's
So, like-
something called partial birth abortion, and
Yeah.
it's where they deliver everything but the head,
Mhm.
and then they stick a little rod in the back of the skull, and they scramble the brains of
Yeah.
the still unborn child, because
Yeah.
the head has not been born yet, and they scramble the brains of the baby, and then they finish delivering the baby.
Yeah, like
I
there's nothing in this
You-
world
you can't
you
justify it. There's no
cannot
justification.
justify it
I don't care what
at
your reasoning
all.
is for it. I don't care if you're the poorest of poor. I don't care if you're
Yeah.
the dumbest of dumb. There is
The
no
dumbest
there's
of
no
dumb.
justification for it.
Yeah,
And let me tell you what, if you are on the fence out there and you're like, man, I don't think I can have this baby, you bring your babies here, because I'll take your babies. I'll have them all. I'll have a whole clutch of them. I have a whole football team here. Yeah. I'd have a whole 52-man roster,
All right,
man.
well, before we offer our house as a orphanage, we maybe wrap this
I
up.
would do
it. Maybe someday. Do it. My mom's always wanted to do that too.
Have
Have like an orphanage.
an orphanage.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so last topic, we got Rex. Recommendations. We didn't do one last week because we wanted.
We're running late, so go quick.
Yeah, we'll go quick.
What's your rec?
My rec is Why I Stand. It is a book by Jonathan Isaac. And if that name sounds familiar to you, you're probably a basketball fan. He plays for the Orlando Magic. And back in 2020, he was the only one that stood for the national anthem in the whole court, because both teams they took a kneel. It was a planned event where both teams were going to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, and they were going to kneel for the national anthem. And he was not about it. He was like, I'm going to stand for the national anthem. And and one of his reasons why he in this book, Why I Stand, he talks about that and the repercussions for that, and goes into detail about him as a black man, how Black Lives Matter and that whole movement, whole organization, the whole symbolism of taking a knee, why it's not a symbol. He has great points on that, and he talks about how basically, this was something the Orlando Magic before said that we're not going to participate in this. We don't want to be controversial. We don't want to do anything. And then when George Floyd happened, they said, now we have to do this. And that's when something triggered in him. Because, you remember Colin Kaepernick kind of started the whole thing, and then teams were doing it.
I remember.
Yeah.
Because if you're not very good at playing football, you got to do something controversial so people will remember your name. And let me tell you, everybody remembers the name of Colin Kaepernick.
But yeah, so teams through other professional sports were starting to do it, and Orlando Magic made a statement saying that they weren't going to participate because they didn't want to be controversial. Then when George Floyd happened, they said, we have to do this. We have no choice. And that's when Jonathan Isaac said, okay, it's time for me to take a stand, because this is no longer a symbol.
Right.
This is, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego bowing down to an idol, basically.
Yes.
And
Nebuchadnezzar.
he is a man of faith. He is born and raised in a Christian home, and he's so humble. Even though he's a professional basketball player and a successful one at that, his humility when he speaks. I'm sure the book is going to be the same. It comes out May 17th.
Pre-order it, people.
So pre-order it. It's a good read.
I literally can't think of the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego without thinking of the VeggieTales bunny story. Literally, the bunny song starts playing in my head immediately.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Benny.
The bunny. Dude, I love that. VeggieTales, man.
What's
that
your
should
rec?
be my rec, but my rec is actually Five Below, where we got these cool T-shirts.
Oh, breaking news. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Watch our podcast. We'll be back next week, Sunday night, 7 p.m.
All right, we'll see you guys.